From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. Some nervous moments in the Heights as police search for two men involved in a theft and shooting. This was the scene earlier today. Residents told to lock their doors and shelter inside as law enforcement combed the area east of Alkali Creek School for the two gunmen. We've just learned there has been an arrest made. We're going to have a live report coming up with the very latest on that search in just a moment. But first, some breaking news. A decision many in Montana were waiting on announced just minutes ago, and it's going to make a lot of sports fans sad. The Big Sky Conference has canceled all fall sports, including football. That decision comes a day after the NCAA ruled that individual teams, leagues, and divisions would decide their own fate. And now that fate has been decided. The vote eliminates all fall sports. It'll mean no football this year for the Grizz or the Bobcats because of the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, we're also following some storms rolling through our area, and pretty powerful too, Bob.
We have a severe thunderstorm warning right now for Billings and eastern Yellowstone County. You can see it here. It also extends over into Bighorn County. We're looking at places like Laurel, Billings, and Hardin. Let's zoom into it right now. You can see here's a storm. It does contain 60-mile-per-hour winds and nickel-size hail. It is blowing through downtown Billings right now. We did hear from Eugene in Laurel. He lives there, and he said they had about a half an inch of rain in about 10 or 15 minutes. So this is a pretty heavy thunder shower. Continues to move east at about 30 miles per hour. Next stop is going to be Lockwood, and then maybe into places like all the way towards Warden, and then eventually in towards the Hardin area. So we have this stays with us until about 6 o'clock tonight for another 15 or 20 minutes. So we're looking at some big heavy thunderstorms. It's going to be kind of active for another hour or so. Let's go back to you, Russ.
All right, thank you, Bob. Now back to that search for two armed suspects in the Heights. Here's what we know. This began in Shepherd when a man noticed two men trying to steal an ATV ramp from his vehicle. He took off after their pickup. That's when one of them fired a shot, hitting the victim, leaving him with what are believed to be non-life-threatening injuries. Yellowstone County Sheriff Mike Linder says a deputy who was on his way to the scene in Shepherd spotted the suspect's vehicle coming into the Heights and gave chase. The truck was found a short time later on Sahara Drive in the Heights. Dozens of law enforcement spent hours searching that area, but with no luck. It's believed that the suspects later stole a pickup from a residence on Klein Road and may have gotten away in that. Q2's Krista Rose has been covering this story since this morning and is joining us now with some new information. Chris?
That's all around me, but the other was two armed gunmen making their way somewhere through the Heights today. Here's the news and here's the latest update. We're at 560 Tumbleweed here in the Heights, and they have actually apprehended the suspect, the male considered to be Native American, one of the two suspects that they were looking for. We spoke with the Sheriff Mike Linder, and he has an update for us. Take a look. Sheriff Linder, who has been taken into custody?
Well, we took a male Native American. I don't have his age or anything right now. I don't have his name. We do know that he's wanted on a probation violation, so he's been arrested. He'll be transported down to the detention facility. He matches the description of somebody that we were looking for earlier today. The locals here, the neighbors, actually saw him walking out of the trees, and they called us, gave us the information, and we were able to get officers and deputies up here right away, take him into custody. Nobody's injured, and he cooperated. So
it's been a shower of storms and a flurry of activity out here. They are still looking for this white pickup truck that was stolen earlier. Ford 2016 truck. It's a one-ton, four-door, four-wheel drive. It's got a black front bumper grill guard, also a high-lock bail holder on the back end. They are assuming, and it is thought, that the male Caucasian that they are still looking for is in that pickup truck somewhere in the area. If you have information about that truck or about that suspect, please let people know, let the authorities know. We're going to be monitoring this story for the rest of the day and rest of the evening. Hopefully the weather clears up. I'm going to toss it back to you guys in the studio. Krista Rose reporting, MTN News.
All right, thanks a lot, Chris. Officials in Bighorn County and with the Crow tribe say they are alarmed by the recent rise in COVID cases and deaths in Bighorn County, and they're asking residents to cooperate in slowing the spread of the virus. Bighorn County currently, has 213 active cases. That's the highest per capita percentage of any county in the state by far. Residents are being asked to stay home for 2 weeks if they can, and to make sure and wear a mask if they do have to go out. And taking a look at the numbers from today, there were 4 new deaths reported. Bighorn County reported 3 of those deaths today. A woman in her 40s, a man in his 60s, and a man in his 70s. Bighorn County has now seen 14 total deaths. Another death was reported in Cascade County, bringing the state's total number of deaths to 70 now. And again, a total of 173 new cases today. Yellowstone had the highest number with 47 active cases in the state, now more than 1,500. There have been almost 3,000 recoveries. Well, it looks like much of Montana may be voting by mail ballots in the November 3rd general election. Governor Steve Bullock gave county election officials the power to decide whether to give all voters the option of mail ballots in November to ensure voter safety during the COVID-19 pandemic. And as MTN's Mike Dennison reports, larger counties are already indicating that's the way they'll go.
2 weeks ago, county election officials asked Governor Bullock to give them the same choice in the general election that he did in the June primary, to close regular polling stations and move to an all-mail ballot. On Thursday, the governor agreed.
It only makes sense that we start preparing now to ensure that no Montanan will have to choose between their vote or their health. They didn't have to in June, and they shouldn't have to in November.
By late Thursday, at least 4 of the state's big urban counties indicated they'll be moving to an all-mail ballot: Billings, Helena, Missoula, and Great Falls. In the primary election, all 56 counties eventually chose that route, and it led to a record-high turnout, surpassing the previous primary turnout record by 90,000 votes. If Montana counties go that way in November, they'll send ballots out to all registered voters on October 9th. But as Bullock pointed out, voters can still cast their ballot in person. They'll just have to do it at the county election office, starting as early as October 2nd and continuing through Election Day on November 3rd. The governor's order also says early voter registration will be extended until 10 days before the election, and that registration